Hello, love. Welcome back to Monetizing Mompreneurs podcast, where we believe it's possible to build a business around your life, not the other way around. Today's episode is straight from one of our Facebook Live takeovers inside the Monetizing Mompreneurs community. And if you're not already in the group, what are you waiting for, friend? That's where all the behind the scenes magic happens. Connection, support, and real conversations just like this one. And we go live so you can join us. So our guest is Shepard, aka GSD, Get Stuff Done, or the other version. She's a success coach, motivational speaker, full-time cybersecurity account executive, and a mama of two. She's here to help high-achieving women ditch burnout, implement healthy habits, and build lasting joy and success without sacrificing what matters most. We're talking productivity, purpose, self-worth, connection, and joy. This one is powerful, personal, and packed with gems. And if you're catching this episode on release week, don't forget we're hosting our next Networking Wednesday tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST in the Facebook group over Zoom. Come connect with other like-minded mompreneurs and get plugged into Monetizing Mompreneurs Facebook group and community. So come on in. It's every third Wednesday of each month that we have these networking meetings. I'm kind of excited and nervous at the same time for them, but I would love for you to join us. This week is also spring break, so I am sharing my behind the scenes of us taking a spring break vacation, and we're going over to Noah's Ark. I know, what is it called? The Ark Encounter. So check out my stories. I might put some reels, but I'm really not reeling it up these days like that, but I might do it for this one. But if you're catching this, check out my stories. We're gonna go on an amazing trip. And if there's anything that you would like to see on the episode or anyone that you would like me to interview, send me an email. I would love to hear from you. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into this powerhouse conversation with Jen. I absolutely enjoyed it. I had such amazing wins, and I think you're gonna enjoy it too. Listen, and I think it's gonna change your life.
Mompreneurs, it's not business, baby. It's business and babies. Whether you're rocking the carpool line, building your business during nap time, or dreaming big after bedtime, we've got the tools, tips, and strategies to help you grow your business. Grab a snack, your headphones, and enjoy this time with us, because mom life and boss life deserve balance.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much to you, Linda. It's just always such an honor to be here and get introduced to your fantastic community of mompreneurs. So huge thank you to you. So hey, everybody, I am Jen Shepard. I am a mom of two. I am an account executive selling cybersecurity software to C-level executives here locally in North Carolina and Tennessee. And then on top of that, success coach and speaker. So trying to prioritize doing all the things the best that I can. So pleasure to be here. Looking forward to our conversation. I have a background in neuroscience and human behavior, so I can nerd out on that all day long. So I'm really excited for the conversation today, focused specifically around how to build healthy habits. Key word here is lasting success and happiness. We all know we can get the car and the purse and the earrings that give us slight happiness, very temporary. And of course it goes up and then immediately falls down. So really, how do you put the foundations in place to create habits and systems for sustainable success and happiness? So certainly looking forward to the conversation today. If you have questions, pop them into the chat. We'd love to interact with you. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Yes, as am I. So what does cultivating success and happiness look like, right?
Yeah. So setting the stage, most basic level when it comes to habits. Habits are repeated behaviors that you do consistently over time. Now, James Clear is a phenomenal pioneer in all things habits. So if you want to dive deeper, he is a fantastic resource. But keeping it high level, I know we only have 30 minutes today. We have a lot to cover. So I just want to touch on the things. And of course, if we need separate follow-ups to go deeper in any of these, obviously let Linda know, and we can go much deeper. But on average, it takes about 66 days to make a habit automatic, meaning subconscious. You're not thinking about it. So if you think when you drive your car, you're not thinking to yourself, okay, turn car on, push gas pedal, right? These are all things that you do frequently. So it falls into your automatic and subconscious level. What we really want to focus on is putting the right behaviors into the automatic category. Because for most of us, it's a mix between things that serve us, but also things that don't serve us. So keeping that in mind, average of 66, right? It could be shorter, it could be longer, depending on the type of habit. And then biggest thing, you have to take an assessment of what you're spending your time on. What are the behaviors that you're doing every single day? So you can, again, put those correct ones, the ones that serve you, those happy, healthy habits we'll talk about here in a second, become automatic. So diving in, this is a framework that I've created. I've spent the last 17 years in this field, coupling with my experience with my master's degree, specializing in neuroscience and human behavior, studying what makes people successful, but also vice versa. And how do you use how to reprogram your mind for your benefit? So coupling all of that with interviewing hundreds of women over the last 17 years, I put together what I call as a framework to implement 6 quick, healthy habits for that lasting success and happiness. So diving in, and I created kind of a way of remembering it with the word impact, because ironically, they all will impact yourself, but also other people. So they boil down to, and of course, I'll explain where the letters in that name come from, but time, connection, fuel, alignment, self-worth, and joy. So first letter of impact being intentional about your time. So Linda, I know we last session was all things setting up 2025 for success. We talked a lot about time tracking and taking assessments. So biggest thing here is understanding your time is value, right? This applies for your personal and professional. Time is the most valuable commodity that we have. It is something that you cannot buy and you cannot get it back. So how often are we taking an assessment of our time and identifying what is serving us? Where are we spending it? Or is it on things that serve us? And how much of our time is being wasted? So I found out these really interesting statistics. 33%, when you look at your lifespan as a whole, averaging between, 80 to 90 years, and you look at how much of your time is taken by certain things, this is where it absolutely blew my mind hearing this. So 33% of your life you spend sleeping. Don't touch that. You need that. Quality sleep is very important for showing up well in the hours that you are awake. So 33% sleeping, 16% of your life is working. And here's where it gets crazy. 16, and of course, these are averages. 16% of your life we spend on our phones. 11% of our time we spend watching TV. So totaling up just those 4 puts us at 76%. I mean, that's crazy. That leaves 1/4 of our time that we are actually intentional about. Now, where I would argue this is, can you drop the phone time and the TV time to autocorrect and give you more time that you can spend with your friends? But it's really kind of a huge wake-up call that how much of our time do we actually have control over? Not much. Why it's so important to be so intentional and meaningful about how we're spending it. So how do we do that? Everyone wants to be more productive with the time that we have. And Linda, I know we talked about this before, but keeping it super high level today, habit stacking. We don't want to multitask on important tasks, but when you're going for a drive, when you're brushing your teeth, I used to brush my teeth and do squats, or on the elliptical, reading a book, in the sauna. Sherry, I know you love habit stacking in the sauna, right? How can you take these behaviors that we're doing that are not high volume, very important tasks and double down to become more productive? My motto is always spend your time doing meaningful things with the people that you love. So how do you become intentional? Huge takeaway on this one, do an assessment and figure out, where are you wasting time? How often are you doom scrolling. How many times, Linda, I know you can relate to this. I do it where we're like, oh man, I had a really busy day today. I need to go doom scroll to make myself feel better as like a mental break. But in reality, I get more cortisol, like scrolling through social media and just get absolutely lost in it and lose track of my time. So, ways to do this, time tracking. I do this every single day. It's not meant to be a huge uplift, but really just how are you spending it? And when you start tracking your time, what's really interesting, you're going to stop wasting it because you don't want to record it. You don't want to have to write on your calendar that I doom scrolled for 2 hours. So even just starting with this habit takes, I don't know, 2 weeks really is all you really need to do for it. Within those first couple of days, you're going to start really getting enlightenment on how you're spending it. How are you showing up in those hours you're awake? And also, what do we need to eliminate that is wasting our time? So I'll take a break. So that's the first one. Linda, any feedback on spending time or anything that you've learned to kind of help yourself in that realm?
I am a alarm clock person. So I'm always setting alarms and always kind of like, I'm going to do this for this many minutes. I'm going to do this. I try to give myself an hour when it comes to work, an hour to do like each thing that I have on my plate for the day. And then I roll those over for the next day, like whatever I didn't accomplish. But I always have a top 3. And then the rest is kind of like what I need to get done for the week or something like that. Top 3 for the day. And then the rest I'm trying to brain dump every single thing, including personal life. So I just brain dump everything. So I have a list, I brain dump it, and then I put it in like what I'm going to do for like the top. So I think that has worked for me in getting things done. And it's like setting myself a deadline. And if I give myself only like an hour to accomplish like a certain task, I usually do. And if I complete it before the hour is up, then I go to the next task. And I usually sometimes save time, or, I can feed into some other time. So I know how to manage it a little bit better. But I usually just watch K-dramas if I'm like, I need a break. Let me just watch a Netflix K-drama.
That's amazing. Everybody has their thing, right?
Yeah.
No, and I love that. And honestly, productivity hacks can be its own session because I can go into that for hours, but you nailed it, right? It's brain dumping, so it's not taking up space, and then prioritizing. Time blocking is another huge productivity hack. Batch content creating or batch working on tasks. And I love that you mentioned the timer. So Pomodoro method, fantastic. If anyone like myself struggles with ADHD, ADD, getting sidetracked and like multitasking, Pomodoro method is, you can adjust it to, oh, there you go. No, that's amazing. I've got my timer right here. Look at this. 25 minutes on, 5 minutes break. You can adjust it if you need a longer or shorter, but it's no notifications, right? And that's the hard part. That's where people miss. Put your phone in the other room. Turn off your email notifications, and you are solely focused, but we're so easily distracted. We have this constant, one text message, it hits our phone, it hits our watch, it hits our, all of this. We're too accessible. So eliminating those distractions and going all in on that task is huge. So thank you so much for sharing that. Moving on to the second one, meaningful connections. Notice I didn't say connections because they do need to be meaningful and they do need to serve you. How often do we interact? We grab coffee, we meet people that they're great people. They're just not our people, right? So going back again on the time, how are you spending it with the right people? The people that fill you up, that serve you. What I love to call is your front row or your personal board of directors. Who are those people that, of course, they cheer for you, right? That's the easy part, but they're also in the trenches with you. I also call this the sweatpant messy bun friends, right? That I don't have to tidy my house friends, and the share the mistakes we make friends. Those are your crew, right? I've also heard it called the bury the body friends, which I absolutely love that too. But who are those core people that fill up your cup, right? After you leave interactions, you're not drained. And if you are, those are people you need to put distance around, and setting boundaries is its own topic, right? So making sure, I love anything that's lessons learned from people right before they die, because I think there's so much rich value. I mean, what better people to learn from that have the perspective? One thing they say is when you're on your deathbed, you don't ask for your bank statements. You don't ask for your awards and your all the accomplishments that you've done, you ask for the people that you love. That's who you want to spend your last days, months with. So how do you be intentional about spending your time with the right people? We all know the statistics on longevity, right? The blue zones, if you haven't heard of those, one of the core indicators of longevity is deep connections. So you could be the most successful person in the world, and a lot of people who are very successful, obviously air quotes defining success, they're alone and they're not happy. So they've achieved all these accomplishments, but at what cost? So making sure that you're intentional about locking into those people, the small things, right? I love sending birthday cards, sending text messages. If I know my friend's having a bad day, it's like $15 to send crumble cookies to their house. It's just those little things of not only finding them, but nurturing it. And that takes work. You have to be intentional about feeding the right people. And of course, distancing from the ones that don't. Within connection also, and Linda, I know this relates to you very closely, is connection spiritually. So what does that mean for each person? Because I find when I get in ruts personally, it's because I've distanced myself from whatever your interpretation of spirituality is, and that fuels me. Also relationships with your partner and your kids. Friends are very important, but so are the relationships in your home, and really doing what you need to nurture those, which again could be its own session, but I do want to keep it high level today. But any feedback, Linda, on how you've been able to maintain connections with the right people?
I prioritize that. Like today after this, I'm heading over to my mom's and my sister. They're like my girlfriends, and having lunch with them.
I love it.
So I've been very blessed to have like a really tight knit family, and my sisters and my mom are my girlfriends. That's my connections. And then I always spend time with my kids, doing something, right? Like reading a book or, something. And then I prioritize time with the hubby. So we have every month we have two types of dates. One, because we're not dating every week because we're like doing certain things, stuff like that. So one date we have as a family with the kids, and one date we just have me and him. And that's every single month. So we just have those 2 days because, sometimes maybe we're just, chilling together on the couch or something, but we prioritize those things. So I've been very blessed to be able to have a close family, and for me, relationships are more important than what's happening in my business. So I prioritize that before my business. If I'm not right with things that's happening in my home life, I really can't show up in my business the way I want to. So that's just
absolutely. I love that. Right. And you found what works for you. And I think relationships, when we talk about connection, we focus on friendships. Professionally, relationships and connection mean mentors, seeking out mentors that are doing the job that you want to eventually move into, and networking with those people, networking in general, right? But what's missed, I think, a lot of times is the husband or the partner or whoever that is to you. Best piece of advice my mom ever gave me was your relationship comes first, right? And your kids will see that. A lot of times we prioritize our kids number one, and then you see marriages 18 years later when the kids go off to college, and you're like, who are you, right? So you've got to continue to pour. I love that idea of the 2 dates, and really just staying aligned. So that one actually leads me into my third pillar, which is fuel. So I am properly fueling your mind and your body. Now, this isn't just having a green smoothie or a protein shake like fuel usually is associated with. This is what I like to say, anything that recharges your soul. So we're talking, could be connecting with a friend. It could be going to your girls' days with your mom and your sister. It could be reading on a couch with a cozy blanket. It could be going for a walk with your dog. I mean, anything that fills your cup, and you have to prioritize this. I know self-care could be also used in tandem. That word recently has just absolutely blown up. I feel like people just eye roll at that word now, but how are you recharging yourself and filling your cup? So again, being active, educating yourself on labels. I think, and we talked about this, Linda, last time, is like, how do we incorporate that into our life? But there are a lot of ingredients that are, food marketers do an incredible job at making us think things are healthy and they're not. So educating yourself on what ingredients to look for, what do you need to remove, and then monitoring how you feel. So continuously pouring into yourself, your mind, and your body. Get walking, get moving, get active for what that means for you. Also investing in your gut. We all know now the impact of your gut and your brain. So being intentional about the things that you're putting into it. We all have our cheat days and our bad food that we have that we like to enjoy occasionally, but looking into fermented foods, right? How making sure you're taking a good probiotic, because I found also when I get into ruts, I'm not taking care of my gut. It all kind of cycles around each other. So that's fuel, and that is a critical piece. I also say I can teach you mindset stuff all day. I can teach you to reprogram your brain, implement healthy habits. But if you are not taking care of your body, true transformation can't happen. And same with all of these, right? You could take care of your body, and maybe you know people who are super, super healthy and they eat all the right things and they exercise, but they don't have deep connection. And that's missing. True transformation can't happen. So it's all encompassing. I don't want everybody to feel overwhelmed to like, all of these 6 habits you have to implement daily. But once you get routines and they become automatic, it becomes very easy. Then you start to notice that these habits fuel you. They fuel your happiness. They fuel your health. You feel good. And of course, just do the best that you can. So the next one is alignment. So this is the A. Align with your vision. So this is talking about your legacy, your purpose, your passion, your why. Again, lessons from the dying, the number one regret of the dying. I've said this a million times, still gives me goosebumps. I wish I lived a life that was true to myself, not a life that others wanted me to live. I mean, that's crazy. How often do people get to their end of their life and they realize they just lived this life, not following their own vision and passion, but what they wanted, what other people wanted them to. So recognizing that now and catching it and being intentional, again, circling back to how you're spending your time. So aligning with where you want to go. And that takes work. It takes time to sit down and deep work alone and work through. Like I always, in my client calls, I have my clients write their eulogy, which is this crazy out of body experience, because you think from your last day, you think of after you've passed, what do you want people to say? How do you want your kids to describe you to their friends if you are no longer here? Who was that person and what is the life that you lived? So really aligning with that vision. And I'll also emphasize it can change. It should change. A lot of people think, oh, well, I set this one goal, and if I steer away from it, people are going to think I'm a failure. Absolutely not. I always say if you're constantly working on yourself and bettering yourself, you should evolve. Your vision and your goals should change because you're trying things. How many times do we take a job we think we wanted, our dream job, we take it and we're like, oh, this isn't what I thought I wanted to do. That's okay. That's not failure. That's just you experimenting. So making and filling your days with things that align with where you want to go. Being in alignment here too makes it a lot easier to say no to things. That's what I found. A lot of times people pleasers, right? Who in here is a people pleaser? We say yes to everything because oftentimes we don't know how to decline things. If it doesn't align with where you're going and the direction in the business that you're building, it's a no. I think forget who said it. They were like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. So having that mentality of constantly assessing. I also say maybe every 3 months, just take an assessment. Like, hey, am I on the path of where I want to go? Nope. Okay, pivot, change, shift over here, as long as you're moving forward. I will toss it over to you, Linda. Any feedback on either aligning with your vision or fueling your body? I know we talked about fuel last time.
Well, I mean, I am also a reader of those, like the last words, like what they really wanted. They wish they spend more time with family. They wish they, didn't care about what other people thought of them and lived more of a life that was true to them. Those are tough lessons. And I think those are lessons that we shouldn't wait until we're at our deathbed to learn. And I think when we're kind of like getting uncomfortable, that's when we're going to learn a lot of the lessons. And it's also about, I think it's really being self-aware that's really going to help us learn the lessons a bit quicker, because at the end of your life, when you're on your deathbed, you got nothing to do but ponder. And I think that's why, Think and Grow Rich, right, by Napoleon Hill, like we do not think. right? We don't even think about what address we got to go to because the GPS just pops it up, right? Now we got ChatGPT. We don't even got to think about ideas anymore, right?
So true.
So we need to actually sit down and prioritize self-evaluation. That's what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it. It actually leads into the next pillar that I have, the fifth one, which is my favorite, which is cultivating self-worth. And I think a lot of times we associate our self-worth to things that are completely out of our control, right? So the roles that we play, being a mother, being an employee, being a business owner, when things are great, it's awesome. But what happens when you have slow seasons and you attribute your identity to that? Then a lot of people just say, oh, well, I'm not good at this. I'm going to give up. How many times as a mother, we're all mothers here, you could be the best mother in the world and your kid is still going to have a meltdown because you had to cook the chicken and you couldn't give that to him raw, right? These are completely out of our, other people's responses are completely out of our control. So we need to be careful on what we're attributing our identity to. I also love the concept of removing what I call as t-shirts. These are labels that we put on. Oftentimes we don't even know we're wearing them. And the worst part, they're not even true, right? So these are things that people said to us, maybe in kindergarten, in middle school, could be even a family member who called you something. And those words resonated and it became your identity and you put that t-shirt on, right? Maybe it's that you're overweight, that you're not good with money, that you're messy, all of these ways that we describe ourselves is, to your point, Linda, you have to do self-assessment and say, how many of these am I wearing that don't align with who I am? These are the beliefs that we carry. So what I call is removing those t-shirts and learning to truly love ourselves. And self-compassion, which I think is missing in our lives, right? Is like, how do you truly love yourself? It's doing all of these things and encompassing and spending your time intentionally. But a big piece of this is rewiring, which I can nerd out on this for days, rewiring our self-limiting beliefs. Confidence outside comes from the voice within. So I love this phrase. I've been saying it for years of quiet your inner mean girl and amplify your inner hype girl. How often do we celebrate our wins, right? We're so buried. We're on the hamster wheel. We're going through life a million miles an hour. Every single person in your community and yourself, Linda, is a badass. You're doing incredible things every single day, but we're so focused on what we didn't do, right? On that to-do list. We're so focused on what we didn't do well. How often are we really celebrating our wins and who we are? So completely reshifting, which I can go on a whole tangent on that another time. But another recommendation here is creating a You Go Girl folder. I have one on my phone. I got one on my computer. Anytime you get a nice text message, anything you do throughout your life, throw it in that folder. And please constantly revisit it and remind yourself of how awesome you are, all these amazing things. So cultivating self-worth, self-love, self-compassion, mom guilt, removing fear of failure and fear of success and fear of other people judging you. And really embodying that. And then lastly, I know we're coming up on time, is tracking joy. Now, this has been life-changing for me. I started every single day, and if I can't do it every day on Sundays, I will find moments of joy from the week and I will log them. And now I'm averaging 20 to 30 every single week. And what it's doing is it's forcing me to, in a positive way, relive that moment. Serotonin, right? All of these dopamine, these chemicals that were released in the moment. And now I'm intentional because I have to remember the moments, right? Hamster wheel, we're just surviving going through life. But if you have your head up and you're constantly looking for moments, you're going to start seeing them all the time. So I love this one. Super easy. Track joy, right? Have more fun. I feel like we're so uptight sometimes and we just take life way too seriously. Carrie, the fun coach, follow her on Instagram. She's fabulous. She really helps you tap into your younger child and go roll around on the grass, go just do things that bring you joy that we don't do, and just encompass it and schedule it more into your life. So I know that was super high level and that was really quick. I could go an hour into each of those, but I just wanted to provide that for your community, and any other resources that would add value, I am absolutely here for.
That was absolutely amazing. If anyone has any questions, Sherry, if you have questions, you can come on live and ask questions to Jen. Sherry says so many great things. Thank you. I had another comment from Lucy in our group that said, iron sharpens iron. Exactly. She was all into that whole connection. But yes, if you have any questions, whether you're watching the replay or here live, please type them in the chat or the comments within our Facebook group. And this replay will be available in the group. I don't think I'm going to do until Friday. Usually I do until Friday, but this is such a good one that I'm going to keep it here because these are all things that I really believe that do lead you to success and are really extremely important. And, one of the things that we can do is like we can focus on the things that are not going right, how you were talking about. And I learned that one because at night I'll be like, oh my goodness, I did this wrong, I did that wrong. And I will only remember the bad moments. I'm like, wait, at the end of my life, am I only going to remember all of my mistakes? Or at the end of my life, do I want to remember and be intentional about remembering the good moments? So at the end of the night, I try to remember all the good things that happen as opposed to all the little mistakes that I could have made or supposedly wasn't enough. And that actually attributes to sleeping better.
Oh my gosh,
Just,
yeah.
you know how the husband just
Oh my gosh.
right away?
Literally, head hits the pillow. It blows my mind.
Head hits the pillow and it's done. That's because they see how awesome they are throughout the day.
So they don't have those self-limiting beliefs.
We don't deal with that.
Oh my God, I love that. And kudos to you for recognizing it, right? Because a lot of us don't take the awareness to say, hey, hold on, I'm not focusing on the right things here. I would challenge everybody, yourself included, Linda's taking it a step further, start writing it down. And the reason why is when you do your end of year reflection and you go back and look at 2025, you are going to have an entire memory book of incredible experiences and the ones that you will forget, right? So those little moments that you have. Yeah, there you go with you. The moments you have with your kid.
Yeah.
Oh, they said this cute thing, or they hugged me for here. That you're not going to remember that 12 months ago. So you're almost double dipping on serotonin and dopamine when you go back and you write it down. So just kudos to you for recognizing that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all mindset is such a big deal. And I don't think that we give it as much credit. But one thing that I also do is like I renew my mind with God's word. I attribute all of my success, all of my self-awareness to God Almighty, because if it wasn't for God just kind of like shaking me and be like, hey, are you going to choose life or are you going to choose death, right? And sometimes we ourselves, right, faith without works is dead. We ourselves have to pick ourselves up in faith, knowing that all things are going to work out if we put in the work as well, because we can't just lay in our bed and be like, oh, miracles are gonna pop off because of whatever, because you're just laying in your bed and you want the miracle to happen. We also got to take action to cultivate that life we want. If you have a garden, you can't just plant the seed and not tend to it and expect something to thrive. You got to do the work, even though you have the faith that'll bear you fruit, but you got to do the work in the soil. You got to make sure there's worm castings. You got to make sure there's fertilizer. You got to make sure the right elements are there in the soil in order for the fruit for you to see the fruit.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have a plant, which I had happened before, that bears no fruit. I had a huge tomato bush that the first time I was gardening, bared me 0 tomatoes. And that thing was huge, but had 0 tomatoes. So we got to be really careful. That just goes to show, although God made it to bear fruit and to be fruitful, if you don't put the right combination, items that it needs in the soil, like it needs an acidic soil, right? Usually fruits to bear, it needs a certain acidity in the soil. It needs, certain nourishing, got to prune that thing. There's certain things that are needed in order for you to see the fruit. And so I think sometimes we just think like, oh, if I have good intentions, boom, right? We think we just plant that seed of good intention, that's it. No, we got to cultivate, right? We got to see what's important. We got to see at the end of our life, how do we want to look back? So I absolutely love this, Jen.
Yeah.
Jen, where can people find you?
Oh, you're so sweet. And just to double down on that, it's the hard work, right? It's not the fun going for a ride. It's the hands in the dirt. It's all of it. And a lot of people don't do the hard work. And that's why they're stuck in the complacency cycle, right? So to your point, you got to take action and you got to go deep and really understand, what is that life you want to live? What is that legacy that you want to leave behind? And who are you and who do you need to become so that on your deathbed, you are you are just so appreciative of the life that you lived and you trusted the process, right? So thank you so much. People can find me, ladies, on Instagram. It's resilience.rewired. And reach out if you have any comments or questions. I'm here to support you. Got lots of resources I'm happy to send over to Linda that you can distribute to the community. So anything that helps on productivity, mindset, self-limiting beliefs, any of the things that we had talked about, habits, here to help. So thank you so much. Again, I just adore you and your community and everything that you are doing. And I am so honored to be included in this. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you, Jen. Honored to have you here. Like, you hit on so many important things that we sometimes think, oh, that's not important. It's about, it's about the accolades. It's about the rewards. It's about the opportunities. And we miss what is truly important. So thank you for the reminder.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much.
All right. Until next time.
All right. Bye.